All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I think everyone. I think I recognise everyone. Has anyone not been to Monday nights? Okay. Well, welcome. Okay, and to the rest of you who've come along, thank you very much as well. So, my name is Mark. So, I'm a student of Buddhism at Tara Institute for over 35 years, so a long time. So under the auspices of the Venerable Geshe Doga, the resident teacher, and also Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's one of the founders of this organisation, and also another one of my teachers is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So, and I've mentioned this before, so it's not sort of, oh well, you've got great teachers, so therefore there's a process of osmosis from me to you. So, but I've picked up a few things that I'm hoping will benefit you tonight and in going forward as well. So I'm going to cover a few topics that we've covered in the previous Monday nights, just to set the scene, and then we'll round out that a little bit with a bit more detail. So, so the first thing in Buddhism is, and I mention this every week, is that motivation is very important. So whenever you perform an action, if your motivation is very good, then generally the result is really good. So, and here I'm talking about activities like, going to work, meeting with your friends, meeting with family, things that you do regularly. So it could include, listening to teachings, thinking about the teachings, and also meditating. So they're all good things. So what we say is there's this, when we have a good motivation and we perform an action, particularly a positive one, then that we create this store of positive energy that's within us, if you like, or contained within us, that carries us forward into the future. So no action's wasted in that respect. So conversely, if we've got a great motivation but we perform a negative action, a really negative action with intent, the results are there for us as well. But maybe the results of a negative action for us are not so good in the future if they rebound on us. So we could have a great motivation to go and rob a bank, for example. So it's not that good an action, is it? Because you're stealing from someone else, potentially being violent while you're at it. You're flouting the laws of the land, and so on. So in that respect, you go, oh, well, the motivation was very good, but it wasn't really because you were intent on some sort of harm or breaking the laws of the society, harming someone. Because effectively, as soon as you rob a bank, for example, you're stealing from someone. So there's a negative action there. However, the motivation I'm talking about is generally more related to situations like starting a practice like this, where you're listening and you're trying to think about and you're trying to work out in your own head whether it makes sense. So if you have a good motivation to start with, generally the result's good. So that's one of the core tenets of Buddhism. A positive action will lead to a positive result. So if you have a motivation before that action and you perform the action, it will lead to a positive result. So the result might not be experienced straight away for you, but it's there on your continuum to ripen in the future into a result. And the result can be very similar to the one you've created, because you might say, oh, well, I've given $10 to someone as a gift, so no strings. So the result might be you receive a like amount in the future or something equivalent in the future. But one of the things about the law of cause and effect is that the cause might be small, but it can ripen So $10 now, in the future, it might come back to be $1 million, $1 million. So it needn't be exactly the same. It just depends on you. And we'll go into a little bit of that in a bit more detail later. But so let's do some breathing meditation. So just to quieten the mind. So that's another important technique we learned. So the most important thing, whether you're seated or on a cushion, is to keep a straight back. And we're going to use our palms touching. The left hand's the one underneath in our tradition, and then the right one's on top, and then the thumbs are joining, and so we're sort of pushing the thumbs back towards the navel. So we're just resting it in our lap. It should be really relaxed. So you should feel your shoulders relax as well. It shouldn't be tense. So the object of our meditation tonight will just be we're just going to observe the sensation of the breath as it goes in and out through the nostrils. Okay, so just bring your attention slowly back to the room. You can open your eyes. So that particular meditation, so it's effectively, it's on the breath, so you're trying to develop some sort of form of concentration where you're able to just observe the breath. So you're creating a mental image of the breath as you're sort of observing the sensation as it goes in and out through the nostrils. So, and you're doing that to develop what we call mental quiescence. So it's the mind being quiet. So generally our minds are not that quiet. So there's a few analogies about the mind, isn't there? Like it's like a bottle of soft drink. You know, you shake it up and the bubbles will just keep going infinitely, one after the other. You know, just more thoughts, more thoughts. So the mind is generally like that, particularly when we connect the thoughts. So we might be on the breath initially, but then we'll think about, oh, I've got to meet my friend tomorrow, and that means I've got to catch the train, and I forgot my ticket, and then you've forgotten the breathing meditation because your mind's jumped again to another thought. So we call those discursive thoughts because that's the natural state, if you like, of play of the mind. That it gravitates towards whatever excites it in that respect. So it's very difficult to go, well, I'll keep it on the breath, keep it on the breath. So we need this mental quiescence so that we can develop that concentration. So it's something you acquire over time. So just sort of breathing in and out, and you cultivate that focus until it is comfortable for you. So the analogy I read about this today was, it's like two friends. When you do meditation, it's like two friends meeting. They both know when to say goodbye and leave, so they don't overstay or overstretch the friendship or overstay their welcome. They go, oh, see you. I'll see you next week. That sort of thing. So they're looking. So again, like same with meditation, you do enough and then you stop while it's enjoyable, and that's important, particularly when you're beginning, because you want to develop that good feeling towards that meditation that you're doing, that you're putting the effort into. And Geshe Doga says, if you can do a minute of meditation, so your breaths, your focus is there for a minute, if you can do that. So he said, okay, increase it. And what do you think he said to increase it to? Any guesses? Yeah, 2 minutes? No, it was something, add 10%. So add 6 seconds. Or, so sort of, you can do a few minutes, add a little bit more. But he was virtually saying, don't push too hard, too fast, particularly when you're beginning your meditation practice. Just go easy, and then finish and go, oh yeah. And then the next time you do your meditation, you're looking forward to it. And then you can do the same again. And then you find it's more natural and it'll evolve. And it's not necessarily about going longer, because it's easy to have the appearance of meditation, but being a bit too relaxed and potentially nodding off, and then waking up when it's time's up and thinking, oh, that was a very good meditation, but I wasn't really concentrating, I was drifting off into a dream state or a sleep state. So anyway, it's good. The main thing there is just to be easy on yourself and go slowly, enjoy it, and then try again. So we particularly, I think it's more conducive when you do meditation in a place like this, because other people have done meditation here, and the teachers are meditators and that, and then so there's a little bit of energy about that. But most of the time we're not at Tara Institute, so we're at home or work or whatever. So it's good to find a place, probably at home, where you could do it if you wanted to develop a meditation practice. So of the techniques used to develop some sort of wisdom, the meditation is the highest one. So the first one is listening. So you can be listening like this, or reading. The second one is thinking about whatever you've heard or read, and then the third technique is the meditation. So they go in stages, but if you can utilise the meditation, having a good foundation with the other two, then your results will be better. So what result are we looking for with this sort of meditation, with breathing meditation, for example? If we've developed some sort of quiet, mental quietude, what are we trying to get to with that? Nope. Okay. So what we're aiming for, the mental quietude will still those discursive thoughts that generally come and try and, if you like, upset our meditation. So our mind will become still, and we'll find, even if those thoughts start to drift in, we'll have a means of going, no, my focus is the breath, and you'll be able to stay on your object. So that's quite important, because it stops you from being bounced around by different thoughts while you're doing meditation. And out of meditation, you'll develop this little bit of time and space before you react to things, because you're a little bit more of an observer rather than a reactor. So that's one of the, if you like, advantages of that meditation practice. The other advantage is if you develop mental quietude, you develop concentration. So concentration is great because it's not just while you're meditating, but also in whatever activity you do, whether you're building something, or you have an activity at work, or you're meeting with people. So you're focused. You're not scattered. And that's an advantage for everyone, really. And you see master craftsmen and artists and stuff, you know, how they work, and you think, oh wow, they've got nothing's interrupting them. They're just totally focused on whatever their creation is. So that's an example of concentration being put into action. So they've obviously got some ability to focus on the task at hand, and we can develop that too. So I'll just cover one more point about this, is that when you're doing a meditation like the breath, you have one part of the mind that's doing the focusing on the breath, and you have another part of the mind that's a little bit more subsumed, and it's like an alertness or a guarding. So it's sort of watching that you're staying on your object of meditation. It's called vigilance or guarding alertness. So you go, I'm not on, my focus isn't on the breath anymore, it's on what I'm doing tomorrow. So it reminds you, so that you bring then your mindfulness, or if you like, your attention back to the breath. So it's another, you need both techniques going. Initially, at first, you're just doing the breathing, and then if you find that you can keep that object, then you keep going. If you find it's drifting, it's that guarding alertness that says, oh no, my mind's drifted off, and then you bring it back again. So at first you might be doing a lot of that, 5 seconds of breathing, and then 1 second of I've lost my object, and then but then you'll find it. You'll go as you go. You'll be able to go longer, staying on your object, but that guarding alertness is still there. So it's just, if you like, in the background. So does anyone have any questions about that? So that's breathing meditation. So effectively, that's one type of meditation where you're just trying to develop focus, and there's another type of meditation which is called analytical meditation, where you're examining something, like examining an emotion of anger, or examining the nature of love, or the development of patience. It's more you're tossing around in your head as you're meditating. So the first one is primarily for concentration. The second one is really, as it's analytical, you're really trying to look at different facets of it. But with the every technique you use, they both help each other. So, if you can do the breathing meditation and you get focused, then your analytical meditation will be better. If your analytical meditation on, say, the development of love is really well developed, you might find, I've gone to breathing meditation, and you're filled with a warmth from that previous meditation when you're doing that. So each help the other, which is good. So primarily, when we talk about good motivation, and you've got the meditator, which is yourself. So if you've got a good motivation, you've done the meditation, and you've created this positive imprint. Is the positive imprint, is it on you, or does that positive imprint go to someone else? Another person, for example. You've got a good motivation, you've done some meditation, and you've created this positive energy. Is that positive energy stored or contained within you, within your person or continuum, or is it transferable to someone else? Anyone like to? Transferable? Yeah? Who would it be transferable to? You can. Yes. Yep. Yeah. So with the way this law of cause and effect or karma works, so it's sort of like you go, all right, there's this a continuum of Mark who's creating an action. Will the result be experienced by Mark? Yes. You're correct though. Will the result also be experienced by others as a result of Mark's actions? That's also correct, depending on that person's karma and their connection with me, for example, if we're using that example. But primarily it's my continuum. So I'm creating the store of hopefully virtue, and it will ripen in the future and impact primarily me, but also others. So, but you're right there. So, but primarily me. So, why I'm talking about that is there is this idea that if Buddhism, is saying what it's saying, and you can achieve this state of, permanent happiness, couldn't the Buddha just snap his fingers or her fingers and make me enlightened? If it was like that, if it was just totally transferable. So the Buddha was actually asked that question around, could I just snap my fingers and make all the beings enlightened? And the answer that was given was, every being has the potential to achieve that state of happiness, pure happiness, or permanent happiness, but it's only a potential until it's realised by that person or they create the causes for it. So where does that leave us? So that sort of says, okay, we've got potential, but we have to do something with it. So that's the nub of it, and particularly in this world, they say this is the southern continent, and we've been born as human beings in the continent, and there are teachings and teachers, and we have good conditions, good external conditions, etc. That's the perfect opportunity to actually achieve that state of perfect happiness. So if we have a doer, a person, and using this analogy, so you get a person, the example, a person meditating on the breath, and they've created positive potential, and it's stored on their continuum and not someone else's. So then that will ripen for them primarily. So that's important to realise, because then you're sort of saying, well, there's no God being or creator being that's waving the wand or tapping the staff or anything like that. It actually comes down to effort on the person's part, which will lead to a result. So that's quite different, because a lot of the other religions have a creator being, for example. So Buddhism's doesn't have a creator in its philosophy. It talks about, well, each being's responsible for their own result, etc. So there's no producer or director saying, oh, this is the way the world will look and this is what it will be. So each being is responsible for that. So for what happens. And so that's quite a different philosophical thought, isn't it? That there's no creator. So anyway, that's one of the tenets of Buddhism. They look and go, all right, if there was a creator, wouldn't there be a cause to create the creator? Because everything else in the world, has causes that lead it to come into being, and where I think the religions that have a creator talk about the creator always being there from when they never didn't exist. It was always, they were always in existence. There was no cause that created them or pushed them into existence. It was, the creator was always there. So Buddhism says, oh no, we don't have that, and we don't posit that. So they follow this idea of the law of cause and effect as effectively the propelling energy in the whole universe, or universes, etc. So, has anyone got any questions on that? Because that's it's quite a different view to a lot of the other religions, but it's this introduction to Buddhism, so it's sort of that's one of the if you like, the tenets that set it apart, is that. Does anyone find that hard to fathom? Because it might be quite different to how you were brought up. I guess I'm putting that, because I was brought up in a Catholic school, so it was it's quite a different view to how I was brought up in school. It was like, oh, okay. So, yeah. But I found, to me, it actually explains a lot more things, and allows me to sort of, I guess, put a framework around how things operate, etc. Yeah. So when we do the meditation, so we're planting the seeds of positive potential or karma, or a store of positive energy. So we're doing that. We're also creating good habits for the future. Doing it, to do it again, to become better at it. And then using that breathing meditation as just the basis, then you can go, oh well, I'll meditate on developing love for my family and friends, and and my work colleagues and so on. So it can lead to a better outcome for the person. And then if you're really adventurous, you could apply the same thing to people you don't like, the same thinking to the people you don't like. I'm going to develop love for that person who I loathe. You know, they can't stand them. So, so that's quite challenging, because you go, oh, well, no, I'm not sure about that. I think I've got a few that I can just put in that little pedestal over here that's sort of down there, and just ignore, you know, hopefully they stay away and I don't have to deal with them at all. So to actually can face them in an activity that you've created through meditation, and to develop some sort of feeling of love towards them, or patience even at a base. You go, I'm not going to be provoked by them. I'll just develop some sort of patience for them, and then towards them. So that's challenging as well. So when we talked about the law of cause and effect, so we talked about positive actions like the meditation you've just done, the good things you do during the day. So we've spoken in the past few weeks about anger, and no one said it was good. Like, no one put their hand up and said, oh no, it's good in this circumstance, or I can see how to be a positive, a real plus to have real anger and rage. So no one did across 3 weeks. Would anyone like to put their hand up and say yes, they can see a circumstance where anger, rage and violence is a plus, it's a positive? No, all right. So this it's like, so people, I mean, so that's a yes. Ah, yes. Yeah. Self-defense. So yeah, so I think with self-defense, you might not. Yes, correct. So you might be just going, you're in self-preservation mode if you're being attacked, you know, and then you're just going, I'm going to get myself out of this, whether it's running away or hiding or protecting myself or my family. Yes, yeah. So with anger, because it's a good emotion to look at, because it's quick, rises quickly, very explosive, can cause a lot of damage, as everyone can probably be aware. If you act with real anger and you say something, perhaps you didn't mean, but you said it anyway, can cause a lot of hurt. And, you know, people have killed other people they didn't know that well out of anger, and then had great regret because they've gone, I'd never do that normally, but I was so enraged. So there's, if you like, anger's just an example of the flip side of it, because while we have these positive motivation and feelings and actions within us, and we can perform them, then we also have the ability to react with anger. So if they're all part of the continuum of the person, you know, then is it there forever? Anger, love, is it there all the time? You know, can we do anything about those thoughts and feelings at all, or are they permanent, fixed?
If you have anger about something,
Mm-hmm.
but then you actually change things around to fix the problem, is that cause and effect? So you actually use that anger for good, to fix problems for yourself or for other people or for other.
Yep.
So you're using that anger for a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, so I think you're using an example of transforming whatever the situation is that's provoked the anger into something good, however you do it. So the energy of anger is there, so no denying it. So it's like, how can I fix that issue? And for the technique I'm talking about is more initially introspective. So we're looking at ourselves, because when we generate anger, it's pretty spontaneous. It doesn't need much of a, you really have to think about anger. It can just bubble up, so it just boil up. So I've got a good example, driving a car. Someone cuts you off. So you're in this steel box, and they're in the steel box, maybe a bigger one than you, faster one anyway. So they cut you off, and the natural response for me is, they cut me off, So it's like I didn't have to force it, but the feeling came up within me. So, and that driver in front of me, they could be oblivious to how I'm feeling. They just did the action. So there's that anger. So anyway, the question is, so that's a good response, that you can transform the anger into something more useful and use it, so which is good. But the question is, if Buddhism is talking about, you can have this permanent state of happiness, and we'll call it they call it the Buddha nature. It's sort of like every being's got this potential. The Buddha called it the Buddha potential to become a clean, clear, omniscient being from this human form. From this you can achieve that state. So you go, okay, if that's true, would that continuum that's achieved this state have anger? Yep. That's right. Yeah, so it's probably is how much we have to learn, but the way the Buddha explained it is that the continuum of the person, they say it's like, okay, you've got this consciousness, which is us, the awareness we have, and like you mentioned, you've got good, positive emotions, positive action, everything within you, and you've also got these anger and fear. Fear's a good one. So you're going. So what the Buddha taught was those negative emotions are not of the same nature as the consciousness. So they're like a veil or clouds in the sky. So the sky's the clear light, the clear consciousness, and the clouds are like these negative emotions that bubble up and cloud our perception and how our understanding and so on. So unlike the positive store of potential we're trying to develop, which is what the Buddha's talking about, create virtue, and with the non-virtuous feelings and actions and stuff, you're trying to either transform them, as the gentleman just mentioned, or they're not of the same nature as the ultimate state that you have, which is that Buddha nature. So you can clear them away. So the word they use is they're adventitious. So that means adventitious is like, all right, it's there. It's there, but it's not permanent. It's not permanent. So that's good to know as well. Yep. Oh.
Does that mean that virtually even some of the more positive emotions can also be a bit of a veil to that kind of awareness of that more clear consciousness, just as much as what anger and fear could be?
No, because you need to achieve this state is, okay, you need the store of positive potential. You need a lot of it. And the only way to create that is I'm practicing morality, I'm practicing generosity, I'm developing love and compassion, all those positive, I'm good to my friends and good to my family, all those things are necessary prerequisites to getting to that state of, that state of Buddhahood, if you like. So that's why I raised the point of, if you've got positive emotions and negative emotions and they're within your continuum, well, are they the same? They're permanent, and then you can't change switch. But just in answer to the question around the negative ones, you want to. They're not at one with that Buddha nature, so you can remove them. And to achieve that, the ultimate state of the Buddhahood, you need to cultivate those good qualities. So that's the. Otherwise, you'd say, well, if I can get rid of the negative ones, maybe I should get rid of the positive. As you said, it could be a distraction. Just trying to worry about.
I mean, it can be,
Yep.
illusion in love and
Yep.
a whole lot of other sort of things that aren't necessarily that pure.
Yeah. So of all the Buddhist paths, they all follow that, practice virtue and try and stay away from non-virtuous actions as best you can. So they're all one form or the other of that. So that's good, because the minimum is you're not going to harm anyone if you can do that. If you can do those practices, and then the better one is you can actually benefit yourself and others, and the best one is you're going to be of terrific benefit to a lot of people by cultivating that sort of outlook. One, because you're cultivating virtue, but the second part of it is you're trying to not cultivate the non-virtue. So you're sort of staying away from harming yourself and others. Yep. It's a good point you've raised, because you'd say, oh well, the Buddha talked about this potential for Buddhahood, but it only applies to humans. But he didn't say that. He said every being has that potential. But unfortunately, if you're born as a human, like we all are in this continent, with all the conditions we have, quite possible and probable that we will develop and achieve that state. But for an animal, again, born in the same country, good owners, maybe you're owners, you are the owners. So unfortunately for an animal in its state, it can't, because of the mental limitations, it can't, although the potential's there for Buddha, it can't manifest in that animal. So they can't do a meditation, for example. They can't bounce back ideas with you on, the nature of things, or so there's a limitation there. But because again, one of the ideas with Buddhism, another tenet of Buddhism. So you've got positive action, positive result; negative action, negative result. You've got the state of Buddhahood being a potential that people have, or beings have. So the other one is there's a continuum that goes of the person, or that goes from lifetime to lifetime. So this lifetime's pet could be your best friend next lifetime, or the roles could be reversed. So it's not fixed, as in, well, the animal's the animal, so therefore they've got no chance, because you go, well, as you pass away, you go to another birth, and it could be a perfect human rebirth like you people have. So it's like the potential's there, because maybe they've exhausted whatever karma they've had to be an animal at that point. and because they've been around you, and again through osmosis or whatever it is, you've been kind to them, you've looked after them, they've given you unconditional love. Perhaps at the end of that life as a pet, they've burnt any negative karma off for being an animal, and the next lifetime they could be a human and have a good human rebirth. Yeah. But the interesting question, it's the evolutionary, was it the evolutionary idea of what's like a survival mechanism, is it? Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the now, I think, because of the way the brain's developed, a lot of the reptilian, was it amygdala? I think it's the amygdala. They talk about the flight and fight. A lot of that's gone from us because we've been brought up in a different way, and we have a different a different environment. There's no reptile trying to eat us, so we don't have that flight and fight response drummed into us, I suppose. So it's a little bit different. It still comes though. I think in the psychiatrists, and they talk about it, can come give you a flight response to a certain stimulus. So, and the fight one's interesting because these days we're not fighting for our supper or whatever, are we? That's gone as well. So whereas thousands of whatever it was in the past, there might have been that thing of you need to fight for your food or whatever it is to survive. So that's all changed. It's a good point. Good point you raised. So anyway, so again, so there's another idea there that's could I next, when I've finished as Mark and I'm dead, so this body's finished, collapsed, and the idea is there's a continuum that goes on to the next life. So is it going to go up or sideways or down? And that's up to you, or up to in my case me. So it's sort of like, what can I do to make sure that I get a good rebirth next time? And so we say, oh well, practice, virtue, stay away from non-virtue, be kind to your friends. And, there's a whole lot of good things we can do to sort of shore up that positive potential so that if we do pass away, or when we do pass away, that we set the scene for a positive rebirth, a good one. So, and that's, sorry, go on.
So you're actually saying you can't meditate without motivation?
Yeah, well, you can, but I've tried it with and a long time ago, and I got the feeling from Geshe Doga that nah, it's incomplete. He was sort of indicating that, well, it's not the same as if you just take a bit of time to establish a good motivation and then do whatever action it is, in the case you're talking about a meditation, that the actual outcome will be better.
So what would be your motivation for when you do it? So what's your motivation?
Well, because we're in this tradition of Buddhism, the best motivation is I'm going to do this action, whatever it is, for the benefit of all. So that's the best one. And then you go, well, I can't even fathom all. So where does that leave me? So I go, all right, maybe I can benefit the people I know, and then benefit the people in the room, and then benefit the people in Brighton, and then, so you can expand it, your scope, which is important, because you go, well, to all sentient beings, how am I going to, but when eventually, if you do it that way, you'll get to the point where I'm going to try and benefit all beings, even if I can't perceive them at that point. So that's good, isn't it? Because I can't perceive the people in Gaza or in Ukraine or where I can't, but I can still try and be positively motivated for their benefit. So that's good, isn't it? We can do that with our mind. We don't have to actually go there. We can do that. So yeah, Carol, that's how I try and approach it. So it's good. Anyway, so that's what Geshe Yoga was talking about. If you just have even a moment, I'm going to establish a good motivation, and then do your activity, then that's good. So over the years, I'd say it's definitely better than just, oh yeah, meditation time, I'll sit and I'll do that, and then, yep, great result. Tick, it's not the same as just a little moment of motivation. And I'm not very good at, and some people are better at it, re-motivating myself. So, I have a motivation now, and then I'll motivate later, and then I'll motivate. Okay, I just can't do it. Once I get the flow of the day, I find it's better. I've established a good motivation in the morning, perhaps, and then that sets the scene for whatever I do during the day. And then if you're fortunate enough to come to teachings and stuff at night, they go through that again, which is good. So that's a great question, because so there's a reason for that preliminary, if you like, if you're establishing a good motivation. Also with work, because if you establish a good motivation for your work, whether you're the boss or you're a worker or whatever it is, then whatever you do will be to benefit that business or that organisation or that group of people or the patients, whatever, because your motivation is as pure as you can make it. Yep. Oh yeah, okay. Well, if I encounter a negative motivation or a negative emotion? Negative emotion, yeah. Well, in this in the analytical meditation, we can use, as that gentleman mentioned, we can use that negative emotion to examine its nature while we're in the meditation. So we can do the breathing meditation, and then we can switch and go, okay, let's bring to mind something that made me angry, for example. Negative emotion, boom. So that's a great example, because it's easy to bring up, because it's easy to bring up a situation that provokes me or you. So it's like, okay, then you can go, I know it's anger, for example. I've correctly labelled it anger, that feeling, that intense feeling. So it's not a mistake. So I'm not trying to dispute it. It's anger. But then if I examine it more closely, it's the intensity of that feeling changes. It doesn't stay the same. And the Dalai Lama used the example when he got angry. He said, I examined the anger that I was feeling, and the intensity, for him, it dropped away. Because he looked for where was the anger, and he couldn't pinpoint it. So we can use that, if you like, as an object of meditation. That we say the anger exists, but when we examine it, it's sort of a bit more nebulous, and which is how it appears to us, doesn't it? Because it would be pretty rare to find a human being who is angry all the time, whose mind is one with the anger. Like they're perpetually angry, like anger. Generally, it's a quick explosion of emotion, and then it's gone. So that's one that can be examined and then, if you like, seen through. Anyway, why I've used that as an example is that when you do that in meditation, and it's true, like it's a feeling, it's not a contrived, then you find maybe next time you're out of meditation, you're not so provoked by a similar situation. And so this is that time and space that the analytical meditation or the breathing meditation has given you. So if you like, the two sort of techniques: the breathing meditation to just settle the mind and develop concentration, and the analytical to really look into it. And both are beneficial. Within the meditation, they're beneficial for you because you're invoking a much more subtle mind as you're doing it. But then out of meditation, that's where the real benefit is, because you're going, oh well, yeah, so it doesn't matter, I can let that pass. So does that answer your question? Is it Yep. Yep. You can do that. Yeah, sit with it. Yep. But in this, we're saying we can analyse its nature, because we know it's anger, because it's there, we've correctly defined it, but when we look for it, as His Holiness says, when it examines it, the intensity drops and it seems to just disappear. So, and that's what we find when we look for it. You go, well, where is the anger? Is the anger in here somewhere, or is it in the person that provoked it, or is it, like it's difficult to pinpoint. We know it's anger, but so that anyway, that alludes to its nature, that it's not at one with the mind. But we do need to cultivate, as we were talking before, those positive potentials. So one of the best antidotes to anger, or the best antidote to anger, they say, is the development of love, which sounds counterintuitive. You think, well, hold on, if you've got anger, but it sort of makes sense, because anger's a form of quick hatred, isn't it? Just quickly rising hatred towards something or someone. So love is, you're not having that feeling, you're having and in the Buddhist context, the love is, you want the other being to be happy. That's love, the love they're talking about. So you can develop that, if you like, as the antidote to anger, because I think they say it'll have the same result as analysing the nature of it. You go, if your mind is imbued with love, then the next time something provoking happens, you won't be filled with anger. You'll have love as your spontaneous response, because you've cultivated it. So that's very good. So we have 1 minute. So thank you everyone. It's been a really good few weeks. So in Buddhism again, so you've got the good motivation, you've got the positive action, you've got a few techniques to meditate with, and then at the end of your activity, whether it's the end of the day or the end of a session, whatever, you can bookend all the good things you've created with a positive sort of dedication. So if the motivation we talked about with Carol before was for all beings' benefit, so that's the motivation. So the dedication can be the same. So we dedicate for the benefit of all beings. So let's just spend a moment and do that. So. Okay, thank you everyone. There's some tea and biscuits in the dining room if you like, and all the best everyone. So thank you.